Hello and welcome. Today we're going to make some handmade washi tape. These are a few examples that I have. This is clear tape with a bit of stamping, more clear tape with a bit of stamping. This top tape is masking tape with some watercolour, and then brown packing tape with some acrylic inks. I also stamp on the baking paper too, because that can be nice in collages. This is sticky tape with acrylic alcohol ink. And this is some masking tape with coffee, which we won't be doing today, but it's an easy technique. And this is the brown packing paper tape again with just stamping on it. Nothing else. And this is masking tape with alcohol inks, and the baking paper, after I have peeled up my acrylic, my tapes, has got the alcohol ink still on the paper, which can also be nice in your journals. So we need the baking paper and some different types of tape. Today I'm going to use the packing tape and the masking tape and some sticky tape and some watercolours and some acrylic inks and some India ink. We can play with that if we would like. And then we're going to use some alcohol inks, just getting a few different colours out so we've got something to choose from when the time comes. Okay, also a pastel pencil. I'm using a black one, and just a range of different stampy things, whatever you may have on hand. And I like to have some alphabet stamps just sitting there just in case. I may not use them, but they're good to have. So we'll start with our baking paper and the clear tape. So I'm just going to stick it down onto the baking paper, and I want to keep it reasonably close together so that as we're letting the inks run, they can move across the page onto the other tapes. So we'll get a bit of masking tape down as well. Ooh, that's a bit sticky. All right, here we go. All right, and I'll just tear that off with my hands. Masking tape's really easy to tear. Okay, I'll put down some more. I'll put a few of these down. Okay. All right, that will do. And so now we'll move on to the packing tape, which I'll cut with scissors because it's a little bit tougher than the masking tape. And we'll put a few of those down. Try to get it straight. We don't want it to overlap because then you'll have bare patches on your tape. So just get it sitting nice and straight. Okie dokes. So then we're just going to start randomly splashing things around. No plan. Just let it all happen. I'm going to start with this green colour, and I'm just going to randomly splash it around. Hold the sheet up a little bit to give it the opportunity to run a bit if it wants to. Okay, we'll get a second colour on. And I'm using contrasting colours so that we can have a bit of depth to the tapes. And just splashing it around. Cool. And I think I will add some blue to this just to lighten it up a little bit. Okay. And this one's going to run a bit more easily, which is good. The more liquid you get on there, the more they're going to run into each other. Just get it going back the other way. Okay, a little bit more. Cool. Lid on, nice and tight. I'm going to put a little bit more of the green on because that's gotten a little bit lost. So I'm just going to fill up some of those little gaps with some green, but I'm not covering every single gap. I don't mind that there are some little blank bits. Once you get that into your journal, it'll look good it'll make it look more transparent and have more variation in the tape. So I'm going to try some white just to lighten it up a little bit. See how we go. Not too much. And ideally I just want to spatter some around, but it's not coming out. Okay. All right. I think it might be a bit clogged. I'll use this needle tool just to, it's not going all the way in though. It might be a little bit thick, but we'll see how we go. Just clean that on the tape. All right, let's see. It doesn't want to spatter, but I think I'm going to be able to squeeze a bit out, but it's really thick. It doesn't feel thick when I shake it, so I'm going to have to get a smaller needle and give it a bit more of an unclog. But it is coming out, and though it looks a bit sitting on the top because it's a little bit thick, once it gets absorbed in with the other alcohol inks, it'll integrate a bit better and it won't look as blobby. So that will just happen in the next, half an hour or so. It'll just smooth itself out. So let's try some masking tape, and I'm going to use some watercolours for this. I'll turn that around so you can see what I'm doing and use my left hand. Okay, so I'm going to, again, using some contrasting colours, so an orange and a lime green and a bit of this rusty sort of colour. Just prime them first. All right, mix it up. Give it a smudge. And just randomly splash it around. Here and there. Okay, wash the brush and we'll go in for the lime green, I think. Yep, it's a nice combo. Just painting wet on wet, just letting it mix in together. Again, not having to cover every single piece of the masking tape. And the rusty colour. A bit of white space is also good. Okay. All right. I'm going to splash some black here and there. Spattering is always good. All right. Now we will move on to the packing tape, and I'm just going to let that run a little bit actually. Cool. Now, because I cleaned my needle tool on this paper, I quite like that little bit of white there. So I'm going to grab some gesso. Didn't mention it at the beginning, but it's just kind of one of those happy accidents. I'll turn it around so you can see better. And I'm just going to use my finger and just smudge some around. Just spread it out, backwards and forwards, different directions. Okay. Cool. All right. So for the packing tape, I'm going to smudge some of the pastel pencil, dip it in water, and just randomly do a scribble. And then I'm going to get a brush and just lightly go over that just to blend it in a bit. Create some colour variation with the gesso. And then we will go on to some acrylic inks. All right, just going to do a bit of yellow ochre and just letting that run down the page. Okay, now I'll get a darker colour, so walnut. And again, just let that run down the page, let it find its own path. Get it over onto the tape. Okay, just going to smudge that around a bit. Cool. Now let's just give that a bit of a spray. Get it moving around. The packing tape has kind of got a bit of a plasticky kind of coating on it. So the ink kind of runs off it, but it will eventually dry on there. So it's just a matter of moving it around. And a bit went over onto my masking tape, but I don't mind that. Okay, keep it moving. And I'm just going to splash with what I've got on my fingers after doing all that. Spatter it. Okay. And now we are back and we are dry. Cool. How long it takes to dry depends on where you've got it. I didn't mention these in the beginning either, but I thought that I might like some watercolour pencils. So I'm going to go with a blue on this packing tape just to brighten it up a little bit. And again, dipping it in some water and just smudging it around. No plan, just go random. Let your hand move over the page. Alrighty. And I'm going to stick with the blue on the masking tape as well. Yep, that looks nice. Okay. I'm not going to do anything else to the sticky tape. It's good as it is. I'll just peel one off to show you. And you can see how bits of it don't have any alcohol ink. and that's going to look really effective in your journals. Now we're going to do some stamping, and I've got this range of some Tim Holtz stamps, field labels and specimen stamps and what have you, so relevant to nature journaling, because I want to use these tapes in my mixed media nature journals. So we'll start with this little butterfly specimen. And I'm just going to be randomly stamping. And the entire stamp doesn't have to be on the piece of tape. It can be half on and half off. It doesn't have to be centered in, because remember, these are going to be torn up, torn in half lengthways, torn into bits to be used like you use washi tape. That one's a little bit schmudzy, but that's okay. And a bit of this. Ah, cool. Bit more ink for that one. And I'm going to lie the whole stamp across 3 of them. Cool. A little bit more up there. All right. What next? I think that we'll go with this little bird. Just here and there. And this little field label stamp. Put a couple of those on. Cool. And this little flower. Put a couple of those here and there. And I'll put some so that I'm just putting half a stamp on, so it runs off the page, or runs off the tape, I should say. And some over there. Yep, cool. Now I'm going to have a look at these stamps, and I think that I'll get this little flower and do some little rows of flowers, so that then when I tear the tape potentially in half lengthways, I'll have little rows of flowers here and there. That's what I'm thinking. Of course, it might turn into something completely different, but that's my logic at the moment. Okay, some over there. All right. Some more on the masking tape. Cool. Now I think that I might use a little butterfly, a or those here and there. All right. Cool. And I'm just going to get these little labels stamps, and I'm going to put a couple of those on the tape, the packing tape, because potentially, I'll put one here too, I think, just looking for gaps. I think that potentially I could use these as labels in my journals. Could be quite good. Okay. Whoops. Lid on. So that is about it. I'll just get that little bit running a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. And that's about it. If you like this video, I would love you to subscribe to my channel and like the video, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.